any way we can. And with that, are you gonna introduce our next? John, Curry, and ChooChoo. ChooChoo looks like a hawk to me.
Hey, thanks everybody. What I'm going to do, if any kids want to come down and get on the ground here right in front of the stage, and we're going to have some questions at the end. And those guys are usually very curious about what we do. And I want to make sure everybody can see. And just think of any questions you might have. We'll talk about that towards the end. So this is ChooChoo, as he was introduced. And he is a red-tailed hawk. And if anybody has spent any amount of time in the River Gorge, you've probably seen one of these birds. They're eagles, broad-winged hawks, swing-sing hawks, vultures, but you probably have seen one of these, the red-tailed hawk, flying around in the gorge. They're very common in North America, probably one of the most common birds of prey that you'll see. But what we want to talk about this afternoon is falconry. And ChooChoo here is a falconry bird. Falconry, that's right. Does anybody know what falconry is? Heard of it? Anybody down here in the front row? You know? Falconry is when you use a trained bird of prey to hunt. So that's what ChooChoo and I do, is we go hunting. Using a trained bird of prey to hunt. How do you think he catches his food? Yes. With his feet. Right. Right. So falconry has been practiced for thousands and thousands of years. Nobody's really sure when it started, but some evidence shows that it dates back to thousands of years BC. Many different cultures, many different people have practiced falconry over the years. Some people like myself practice it for the sport. We just enjoy hunting with the birds. Some people, some cultures actually use the birds to help them put food on the table. Have you ever had any squirrel? That it's good. But all the food that ChooChoo catches, he gets to eat eventually. Goes in the freezer and we'll feed it to him a little bit later. So it's been going on for thousands of years, and today it's still practiced. There's probably anywhere between 4,000 falconers in the U.S. So it's still going on today. So we'll talk a little bit about how you become a falconer if you were interested in doing it. And I guess the most important thing I need to mention is that these birds are protected. That means you can't harm them, you can't have one as a pet, and it goes as far to say you can't even have a feather from one of these birds unless you have a license. So you have to be at least 14 years old if you're going to become a falconer, right? You have to pass a test. The test has over 100 questions on it. Wow. You have to learn about what to feed the bird, how to take care of it, the equipment that you need, the diseases, what it eats. You got to be able to pass that test before they give you a license. After you pass the test, then a wildlife officer is going to come to your house, and he's got a checklist, and he's going to make sure you have all the equipment that you need. He's going to make sure you know what you're doing, and he's going to go down this checklist and make sure you have a glove, a water dish. You have to build a little room called a mew for the bird. It's like a giant birdhouse, and you need perches for it. He's going to make sure you got everything that you need before he signs off on that. Then you can apply for your license. So again, the birds are protected. You can't just go get one as a pet. You got to get the license first. After you get your license, then the time comes when you have to go out and get your bird. And for apprentice falconers, that's somebody who's just starting out, you have to trap your bird from the wild. And you learn all about how to do that when you're studying for your test. So after you get your license and you get your bird, then you have to learn how to train the bird. And that basically means you're just going to spend a lot of time with the bird on your fist trying to earn its trust. Like, that's the only difference. This bird right now, he just trusts me. He knows I'm not trying to hurt him. I've just got him on my fist. He knows I'm not a threat. Sometimes that takes just a couple of days. Sometimes it takes weeks. So you really have to have a lot of patience till you earn the bird's trust. So when you're training a bird, you'll start out, you want him just to try to get him to hop to your glove when you call him. So you might set him on a fence post or some kind of perch and just get him just to hop just a couple of feet to your glove, right? And that's where it starts. Maybe you give him a little piece of food as a reward when he does that. Then you might maybe back up 10 feet or so till he's not really hopping anymore. He's doing a little bit of flying. And you just get that distance further and further until he might be flying 25 or 30 yards when you call him. When the bird's doing that, he's just about ready to go out in the woods and fly on his own, and free fly. And during all that, you've got him on a tether, on a leash. It's called a creon. When the bird's ready to free fly, he's going to be hunting. So the law also says that if you have a bird of prey and he's free flying, you also have to have a hunting license. So in addition to the falconry license, you got to have a hunting license if you have a bird of prey, right? So how does the hunting work? How do you think? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I take ChooChoo here and we go to the edge of the woods somewhere and I'll just kind of throw him up in a tree. And he may try to fly, but I've got him on a leash now, so he won't get anybody. We'll go to the woods, and I'll cast him up in a tree. He knows when I let him go, he'll go fly high up in a tree. And he's looking for food. At the same time, I go through the woods, and I'm looking too. So we're like hunting partners. We're like a team. If he sees something, he's going to go after it. A squirrel, a rabbit, a rat, maybe a field mouse, anything that the hawk likes to eat. If I see something that he doesn't see, I'll make a commotion to get the bird's attention, and he'll come over there and try to get it. And the chase is on. Do you think he always catches what he chases? No, he doesn't. But that's part of what I enjoy, is watching him chase his dinner. Because sometimes he doesn't catch it. How do you think a squirrel might get away from a bird like this? The squirrels are pretty smart. Yes, ma'am. They do. The squirrels will run in a hole in the tree and hide. The bird can't get them in there. They know they're safe. Is that what you were going to say? The squirrel can go under the bush, that's right. So the hawk does not always catch what he's chasing. But again, that's what I enjoy, is watching him do it. Sometimes they'll do fantastic flights trying to catch their food. Turning over upside down, trying to rake a squirrel off the bottom of a tree limb. Very acrobatic. So let's say he does catch a squirrel. Squirrel's too heavy for him to fly off with, so he's just going to come down to the ground with it. And that's where this bond that we have, this trust that we built up, ChooChoo will let me walk up to him and he won't run away with his food like a wild bird would. So what I'll do is I'll offer him a little snack off to the side, a little piece of meat, and he'll go for the snack, and I'll take the squirrel and put it in my hunting bag, kind of while he's not looking. He forgets about the squirrel, and at that point, we can continue hunting, or if it's time to go, then we can go home. So that's pretty much the gist of it. In a nutshell, that's kind of the abbreviated world of falconry. You guys have any questions? I knew you would have a question. Go ahead. You forgot. Okay. Go ahead. Right. She asked me a good question. If the bird gets sick, then what? Part of what you have to do as a falconer is to find a vet that can deal with birds of prey. And sometimes that can be tricky to do depending on where you live. Dr. Keller at the animal hospital over on Lookout Mountain is ChooChoo's vet. And he has gotten sick before and got him all better. So that's a good question. But yeah, you take him to the vet just like you do your cat or your dog. Yes, sir. That is always a possibility. He asked, what if a bigger bird came in and tried to eat ChooChoo? Yeah, and probably not a vulture, but a predator for the red tail is the great horned owl, or possibly even an eagle. And that is a risk that I take when we go out in the woods. Is that a larger bird could attack and potentially kill my bird. But that's part of it. You have a question? What happens after you get your license and you're ready for a bird, and there's a season for trapping?